What's up, everybody? It's another episode of the Andre Duke Show with Carter Smith. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Hold on one second. Oh, sorry, I had a little technical difficulty there, but what is there to say? Ultimately, get in the chat and tell me what you think. I thought that game was kind of what I expected. Um, Ultimately, Notre Dame just didn't have the firepower. They couldn't stop Ohio State in the first half. Ohio State, as we talked about at halftime, Ohio State was going up and down the field. They just didn't have the horses, right? But second half, they made some adjustments. I mean, hats off. I'm trying really hard to not be too or I don't know, too positive because that was a game that was winnable, I guess. They definitely had opportunities, especially in the second half. They made plays um, to put themselves in a position, but ultimately, that was a game that definitely could have been a blowout, right? 28-7. You're thinking, my God. And I talked about it at halftime. At that point, maybe put Angeli and see what you can do. But I got to give my flowers to Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard went out there and put the team on his back, made plays. That pass to Jaden Greathouse for the touchdown was a fucking dime. I mean, absolute dime. And the defense stepped up in big time. I mean, they caused a turnover. We talked about it before the game, and you had to force turnovers. They forced one turnover, and they weren't able to capitalize on it. We can talk all day about the decision to kick the field goal in that moment. Fourth and goal, fourth and goal from like the 9-yard line against that defense. I understand the decision to kick the field goal because I imagine, I don't know the probabilities, I don't know it, but I imagine the probabilities told you that in all likelihood, 4th and 9 from the 9, fourth and goal, you're probably not going to get it, right? And so then it's a 2-possession game. You're down 16 points. If you kick the field goal and make it, then you're down 13. So you no longer need the 2-point conversions. So I understand the idea to go to kick the field goal in that moment because statistically, probably you need 2 possessions anyways. So get the points, eliminate the need for 2-point conversions. However, also, you're at the 9-yard line. Hopefully, you need your defense to make a stop either way. Why not go for it? I can get on both sides of that argument. I really can. I don't hate the decision to kick the field goal. I hate the fact that he fucking missed it. And I know Mitch Jeter has been hit or miss this year, so I shouldn't have been counting on it, but he's been good recently. And if you told me that one of these teams was going to miss a field goal, I would have guessed it was Ohio State. But it's and Cameron, exactly, the almost comeback. You were a Notre Dame fan, I'm sure you were, and it's got to be extra salty for you because now Ohio State fans get to talk a lot of shit. And at least as a Michigan fan like you are, you can ultimately say, well, we still beat you. So, that miss ruined the game. I don't know if the game goes any different if they make that field goal. I really don't know. And like I said, I understand the decision to kick the field goal in that moment. I get it. I am sure the analytics probably tell you to kick. Given the defense you're going up against, your lack of ability on offense, because the offense has been really good at scoring touchdowns in the red zone, but a lot of that is 1 and 2 yard touchdowns. Your red zone offense has been okay. That's a tough spot to be put in. I can't fault Marcus for kicking that field goal there. I just can't. Andre in the chat, missed Mills big time tonight. Yeah, he was definitely missed, but ultimately, I don't think the run defense was really the issue. It just, I mean, it definitely didn't help. They gave up some runs. I go back to a couple plays. I mean, in the first half, Xavier Watts not intercepting that ball was huge. And it was a hard interception. That I'm not trying to say like he should have intercepted it, but that would have been a huge turnover in that moment. Um, on top of that, I do question the play call on 3rd and 11 when you need to stop to bring 7 and leave Christian Gray one-on-one with Jeremiah Smith. I don't know how many times we've talked about it this week about man coverage, and I understood they were going to run man coverage. I just it in that moment, I don't ever want Christian Gray to be one-on-one with Jeremiah Smith. That's never something I want. And I mean, yeah, I get it. You're bringing pressure. You're trying to force a quick throw, trying to get to the quarterback. I understand all that. But if you don't get to him, which let's not forget, they hadn't got to him all night. Like they didn't pressure Will Howard when they were blitzing. Majority of their pressures came off 4 and 5 man rushes, not some crazy blitz scheme. And they bring 7 guys and leave 4 in coverage, and they do one-on-one coverage with Christian Gray, who has improved as a cover corner, but he's not ready to cover that guy. If it's Leonard Moore, I can let go of it quicker. God damn. There we go. Sorry, but I don't like that. 3rd and 11, I would rather run a coverage scheme, and if you get beat, you get beat. If they run the ball, they run the ball. I mean, you got to trust your guys to stop the run. But 3rd and 11 in that moment, I don't think they're going to run the ball. And if they do, you should be able to stop them before 11 yards. I don't like the decision to leave Christian Gray one-on-one with Jeremiah Smith in the biggest moment of the game. I just don't like that. He's not that guy. He's never been that guy. Probably never will be that guy. But yeah, exactly. Force Howard to beat you. Don't just because he didn't even have to make a read. He saw one-on-one coverage, saw the blitz, and said, Smith down there somewhere, and just chucked it up. I don't like that. But understand that we're cherry picking one specific play, right? There's all kinds of plays all over the field all night that you could talk about, and I don't want to diminish what Ohio State did because and I already texted. Trust me, my phone's been blowing up all night. It's annoying as shit. But hats off to Ohio State. They I believe they were the best team in the country. I thought that coming into the game. I thought Notre Dame had a chance, and I was right. It was a 1-possession game with a couple minutes left in the game. That's more than almost anybody in the country can say, by the way. And I just want, here's what I want. I want everybody to acknowledge what Ryan Day and his staff did by winning the national title. Hell of a feat. But also acknowledge what Marcus Freeman and his staff did. Because I was told they were going to get blown out. And they should have. It was 28-7 after the first drive of the 3rd quarter. That should have been a blowout. But this team never gave up. This team fought back. This team did things that everybody told me wasn't possible. They weren't possible it wasn't possible that they could come back from that kind of deficit against this defense. Guess what they did? It wasn't possible for Riley Leonard to be a good quarterback. Guess what? He was. He went toe-to-toe with Will Howard. I think Will Howard's the better quarterback, but he went toe-to-toe with him and made some great throws in massive moments. So, Riley Leonard's a hooper. He's a dude. I'm probably never going to be an NFL guy. I get it, but all in all, you have to respect what Notre Dame did, and you have to respect what Ohio State did. At the end of the day, I don't care what anybody tells you, and that's why I didn't want this game to be a blowout, and it could have been. But at the end of the day, those are the two best teams in college football this year. Don't care what anybody tells you. Don't care what the bullshit narratives, all that fucking trash that people are going to spew. Guess what? Those are the two teams that went through the most adversity, dealt with the most injuries, and overcame the most and competed on the highest level for a national title. Nobody else can say that, and nobody else even got close. And I'm sorry, Texas, you played three teams all year. You lost all three times. It's just a fact. Notre Dame fans, if you can take anything away from this, the program's in a good spot. Notre Dame is bringing back so much talent next year, and I don't want to set the cart before the horse. I don't want to put this expectations on this team already, but Notre Dame's going to be competing for a national title next year. They might not make the national title game, but they're going to be a playoff team. They're bringing back so much talent, and if they get the quarterback position right, they are going to be a force. So they got there a year early. I didn't expect Notre Dame to be here right now, especially after the NIU loss. I didn't expect that. But Notre Dame got there a year early, and sometimes that works out. Ohio State got there a year early in 2014 in the first ever 4-team playoff, and they won it. And they weren't able to keep that momentum going. They lost to Michigan State in 2015 and missed out. But 2015 was the better team of those two teams for Ohio State. I think 2025, 2026 Notre Dame is going to be the better team. And I think you're going to have a much bigger threat of the pass. I think that brings it up perfectly. Who do you expect to be quarterback for Notre Dame? I'm assuming you mean Notre Dame. I think it's going to be Steve Angeli. I think he puts a lot. He can do a lot of things Riley couldn't. He can't do a lot of the things Riley was good at. So this offensive line is going to have to get better. They're going to have to be healthy because you're not going to have Riley Leonard back there next year that can run the ball 9 times on the first drive and drive 18 plays, 75 yards, and score a touchdown on a 10-minute drive. That's just not going to happen next year. Portal, or is he on the roster? I think the portal's dead. I think they were betting big on maybe getting Quinn Ewers out of the portal, but I don't think there's a portal guy they want anymore. So I think it's Angeli. CJ Carr, if he can step up and show some things, I like him. So ultimately, I think it's one of those guys. And either anybody else they have on the roster, whether it's Angeli, Carr, Minchie, they're better at throwing the football than Riley Leonard was this year. Riley Leonard made some throws at the end of the game and late in the game, but the biggest thing is that it comes down to health. You're going to have to be deep. Notre Dame's recruited really well on defense and really well on offensive line, so I think they'll be okay. They're bringing back a lot of their skill players. I mean, can we just take a second and appreciate what Jaden Greathouse has become? I mean, dude was a maybe wide receiver 3 for most of the year. And in the past few weeks, he has stepped up, and he's a true wide receiver 1 at this point. And so we'll see how it works out. Greathouse had a great day. Riley Leonard dropped an absolute dime to him to score a touchdown to make it interesting. I don't have. I expected to come on this stream and be a lot more upset, and I'm just not. I'm not upset at all. I'm disappointed because I thought that they they had some opportunities in this game that they didn't take advantage of. Specifically, that turnover. I mean, what a great play to force a fumble, get the ball back. You drive down, you're at the 9-yard line, and to get 0 points off of that was devastating. But they did a lot of the things I said they needed to do to keep it close, and they lost by, I think, 11. It was a week 11. They really lost by like 8. But either way, I mean, they proved on a national stage they belong, because there's not there. I mean, that's the hardest game Ohio State had to play the entire playoffs. I mean, margin of victory, that's the smallest one they had. And you can talk to me about how Texas was about to. I don't give a fuck. Margin of victory, that's the closest game they had all postseason. And dog Notre Dame all you want. Notre Dame was down 21 points halfway through the third quarter, over halfway through the third quarter, and came back and made it a one-possession game. So, I mean, say what you want. I don't care. But that was an impressive game by both teams. Ohio State impressed me, as I expected. Ohio State, absolutely national champion, absolutely best team in college football. Notre Dame was right there, didn't blink. And I've said it all week. The one thing I will say about this Notre Dame team is it doesn't matter what you throw at them. It doesn't matter who gets hurt. It doesn't matter what the score is. They don't blink and they don't give up, and they're never out. And so, hats off to both teams. Great game. Bambino in here. If Emeka doesn't fumble, this is a blowout. Yeah, and if my aunt had a dick, she'd be my uncle. So shut the fuck up. Like, okay, yeah. And if fucking what an asinine comment, dude. Like, yeah, that could be said about what the fuck are we talking about? And if the tuck rule doesn't exist, Tom Brady doesn't win a Super Bowl. And if, I mean, Jesus Christ, man. Yeah, you're right. If he was better at football, it's a blowout. Too bad. He fumbled. It wasn't close. It was a fumble. Jesus Christ. Oh. I'm sorry. That just, like, comments like that really piss me off. Like, yeah, tell me you don't know ball without telling me you don't know ball. Yeah, obviously, if they don't make mistakes, it goes the other way. Like, no shit. Fuck. G in the chat here. It would have been so easy for Notre Dame to fold and fall apart, but at the end, they had OSU. Exactly. I mean, when they went down 28-7, and I said it during our halftime show, if Ohio State comes out and scores, I'm worried, because it would be so easy as a team to be like, fuck, dude, this team's so good. We can't stop them. We can't move the ball. No chance we come back from 21 points. But Marcus Freeman, to his credit, has this team believing so much in themselves and so much in what they do that there was never a question. I guarantee you, not a single person on that roster even considered the fact that they might lose that game, even down 21. They're sitting there thinking about, all right, what do I have to do next to get this back? What do I have to do? Listen, we can only play it one play at a time. We can only play it one possession at a time. Got to go down to score. Guess what? They did it. So I agree, G. Would have been so easy. And I not bringing up other coaches or anything like that, but there's a lot of times in the history of Notre Dame and a lot of other programs where that's exactly what they would have done. They would have folded because they knew they were outmanned. They knew the talent wasn't equal, and they would have folded. But this Notre Dame team would never do that. Hats off again to Marcus Freeman, because that's a hell of a coaching job. And because honestly, Ohio State was the better team. Ohio State had more talent. Notre Dame had no business even getting back into that game, but they did. And that's all because of coaching. It's all because of the culture that's been built there. And that's a good sign. it's a good sign. I know you don't want to take moral victories away from a loss, especially in a natty, but at the end of the day, the culture that's being built there is one that's sustainable. And I think, I think Notre Dame is going to be around for a while. But yeah, I don't, man, this one's hard because I have a lot of people I know that are close to the program at Ohio State, so I'm happy for Ohio State. I really am. But that is what it is. I wasn't shocked by the result, but I was impressed by Notre Dame. As much as you can be impressed in a loss like that, I was very impressed with what Notre Dame did, and I can't think of a better national championship game that I've witnessed. Obviously, there's been closer games, things like that, but like just the story around this game, the everything that went into it, and to have Notre Dame jump out 7-0 and look like, okay, like after that first drive, I thought, all right, if this is the game that's going to be played, Notre Dame's got a good shot, because if it's going to be 10-minute drive, and all it takes is one stop by Notre Dame, I like Notre Dame's chances. But then Ohio State obviously played their game, and they forced Notre Dame to play a game that Notre Dame isn't comfortable playing. But it started so well for Notre Dame, and then it got so bad so quick. And the fact that they bounced back and came back the way they did was so impressive to me. And I can't say enough about what I think of Marcus Freeman and this coaching staff, what they did with this team. And Notre Dame fans and Notre Dame, the players and coaches, all of them, that's a lot to be proud of. You guys, like that team accomplished so much this year, and there shouldn't be a single person in the Notre Dame nation that is hanging their hat right now or disappointed. Like, yeah, obviously disappointed you didn't win the national championship. You were in it. But ultimately, it's a good sign. It's a good sign for the future. And I'm a little more of a pessimistic person than I'm putting on right now. But I thought it was awesome. I thought it was great. I don't have much more to say about it. I think I dove into it and really talked about it. I'm excited to see what this team is next year, because I don't want to get, like I said, I don't want to put the cart before the horse. I don't want to get too far ahead, but they bring back such an immense amount of talent, and now they have, like, they're going to get healthy guys that come back and are now competing for a job with guys that they should be starting over. But the guys that they should be starting over have so much experience from playing this entire year. Like, Charles Jagasaw had a really good game, honestly. Like, I obviously haven't watched all 22, but outside of a couple plays, he played great at left tackle. And you're going to get Anthony Knapp back, who was a freshman All-American at left tackle. And now you're going to be like, what do we bench Anthony Knapp? I mean, obviously there's 4 other positions on the offensive line. We'll find a place for him, but I think that's going to be the interesting thing. And if Notre Dame can find a way, and Ohio State too, Ohio State loses a lot more because all their guys came back from last year specifically to win this natty. But Ohio State dealt with a tremendous amount of injuries on the offensive line specifically, as well as other positions, but mostly offensive line. And you're going to have a lot of guys that have a lot more experience than they would have if those injuries didn't happen. And so next year, if this taught us anything about the future of college football, it's that the deepest teams are going to be standing at the end of the year. I mean, Notre Dame and Ohio State dealt with tremendous amount of injuries. And the only reason they were in this game playing is because they had the deepest rosters. And you can say what you want about Notre Dame's roster or whatever about some blue chip, 5 stars, all that shit. I don't care. Notre Dame's roster played exceptionally well the entire year including tonight, and a lot of their starters weren't playing. And so there's a chance you get somebody like Quinshon Judkins to come back. Benjamin Morrison hasn't declared for the draft either. I mean, there's a chance you get some of these guys that are potential NFL draft pick or definite NFL draft picks to come back for another year to be potential first round draft picks. And if you're telling me that the secondary next year is going to be Adon Schuler, Urlacher, Christian Gray, Leonard Moore, and Benjamin Morrison, that's the best secondary in the country. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, you look at the amount of experience there. You have Christian Gray and Leonard Moore who have played a full year. Benjamin Morrison's a 3-year starter. And then Adon Schuler played this entire year. He wasn't supposed to be the starter before the season started. He just beat out the transfer that came in. And then you got Jordan Clark. I mean, there's so much depth on this Notre Dame defense that this defense isn't going anywhere. It's not. And now those young guys that you didn't know if they'd be ready next year, they played a lot this year. I mean, you're talking about junior Tuli Alamaka played a ton this year. He wasn't even supposed to be on the 2 deep. And KVA played a ton this year. You're going to have to replace the Kaisers and things like that. But there's a lot of experience coming back. So at the end of the day, be excited for next year. Be really proud of what Notre Dame accomplished this year. And if you're a Notre Dame fan, just salute Ohio State. I mean, they did what they did. I mean, that was one of the best teams in college. It was the best team in college football. And if you're an Ohio State fan, I know you've been talking a lot of shit, and enjoy your flowers, enjoy your natty. But also, I think as Ohio State fans, which I consider myself like a pseudo Ohio State fan, give a little respect to Notre Dame for what they did tonight. Ultimately, you guys won. Ohio State won the game. Enjoy that. But also acknowledge that Notre Dame wasn't just some fucking dead animal that rolled out there and got destroyed. They put up a fight. And so hats off to both teams. It was a fun game. That's what I was looking for. I was really, really nervous at halftime. After that first drive, the second half, I thought, oh, shit, this could get ugly. And I'm really glad it didn't, because I think that was important for college football as a whole, just to have a competitive game like that. And I don't know. I mean, if anybody in the chat, if you're out there on Twitter, YouTube, or anything, make sure you like and subscribe to the show. We go live every Monday through Friday, 7:30 p.m. We're out here. We're going to do it all off season. Continue to talk college football, recruiting, all sports. I mean, we talk about everything ultimately, but make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, or even if you're on Twitter, hop over to YouTube. Get in the chat if you have any questions. You want to talk a little shit. I know I got plenty of Ohio State faithful out there that want to talk a little shit, but I don't make it easy, because I like to think I'm real, and I'm not overly dramatic about it, where I told people I thought Ohio State should win this game. I explained why I thought Notre Dame could. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. It was a great season. Absolutely great season. So much fun. I think the 12-team playoff is great. I think there's ways to improve it. But ultimately, I think we got an epic product tonight. And I really do believe that they got the 2 best teams to play for the national title game. I don't even know how you argue anything else at this point. So thank you so much for tuning in. Richie wants to know what. Yeah, buddy, you haven't done an off season yet. It's a lot of fun. Trust me. As the person who writes the show, it gets real fucking fun. Wait till fucking June and July when we're sitting there like, I don't know, Deuce Knight might die tomorrow. But also, we did say he would flip, and he did. But make sure you go out, like and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Not the result I wanted, obviously, but also you got to enjoy it, guys. Like this, what else are we doing this for? Like that was a fun fucking season. I had so much fun watching this team grow from week 1 to week 75 or whatever this was. And to watch that, and I melted down after Northern Illinois. I own it. I was not in a good place, but to see what they did from Northern Illinois to Ohio State tonight, I mean, epic, just absolutely epic. Would have loved to walk away with a natty. Would have loved to walk away and be on here tonight celebrating with you guys. That special bottle of bourbon that I have waiting. It's going to have to wait another year, but I think Notre Dame's got a fighter's chance next year to be back in this game and be even better. So, thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions or anything like that, hit me up on Twitter, CBSmith3. Appreciate everybody. We'll be back tomorrow night, 7:30. Tune in. I'll have Richie and Duke on. I probably will not be on camera because I will be taking care of the kiddos. But you'll at least get to hear their thoughts, and Richie can celebrate a little bit as the resident Buckeye. Hats off to Ohio State, guys. It was a great game. Good win for them. And go Irish.